Hello everybody, I'm back. And this was supposed to be the New Year's Eve special, but unfortunately it took 22 pages. But this was a suggestion from a commenter. I'll put them right here. And yes, let's get into the script from here. One of my resolutions was to branch out more on what I record, and this is not one of those situations. I got recommended Vindictive Drive by this viewer again, and I want to thank you. But also, who hurt you? Mostly kidding. But seriously, RPG Maker shooting hurts so much. I'm getting way ahead of myself. Let me put the disclaimer right here. This game involves lots of drugs, violence, swearing, abuse, mental and physical, and am I forgetting something? I mean, there's conspiracy, but that's not a downside to me. But yeah, if you don't like that, check out some of my other videos. So, yeah, this is the warning. And now, we're gonna get into the thick of it. Vindictive Drive is an RPG Maker game that was released in May of 2017 by Secret Society Games. The game advertised itself on its Steam page by saying it has multiple endings and a battle system. Which, it's nice they were aware of the combat capabilities of RPG Maker. And no, I'm not gonna make another rant about RPG Maker gun mechanics again. Just watch my Crooked Man video for my opinion on them. But back to the start of the game, with a monologue from the main character, Eris Fern, who is 22 years old. She self-describes herself as someone who goes out for food or reconnaissance, and to forgive her if she doesn't explain anything or lies to the player. She details her life, where she only wakes up at 2 p.m. and only wakes up when her Discman's music gets too annoying. This is where we get a first glimpse, where we see Eris holding a gun to herself. She then goes back to reality where she details how she made friends with an anti-government group called The Dome. She heads out to gather some equipment, but before we leave, we can look into her apartment. It's scattered and dark, with the only light being of her computer to illuminate the room. The bathroom is near empty and the fridge is the same. She then goes outside where she says, "I couldn't keep living with this hatred in my blood. It was time to let it go. It was time to violently murder it. My scars will never heal. My nightmares will never disappear. I can't wait for another second to be free." Then we can see an intro cutscene. I'll let it play now with music and all. And I'd like to say that it's great. I like the style of the animation. It's consistent and fits the mood with the offbeat, gloomy music. The music will be a tone setter for the rest of the game. And I'd like to say that, no, this full intro sequence will not make sense for a while. But I think it's nice. Now that the animation is over, you can see the screen that says, "Cartridge result, revenge driven." This will be a constant throughout the game that, in a way, shows Eris's mental state and is used to denominate the endings and path you choose. There are 3 paths, and I'll detail them all later. Unfortunately, I didn't get all of them, because it's a very long game. But I urge you, if you find any interest in it at all, this is the point of no return to go out and get the game before watching this. But if you want to get the other endings, I do recommend you watch this first. If you're still here, which is very likely, then you are like me and don't care about being spoiled. So, let's get on with it.
Part 1. My trust in a world of pawns.
Chapter 1. Order a digital copy of my smile and get free compassion. We go over to the Dome van that's right outside where we can find 2 guys working inside. When we enter and talk with them, Frankie greets us by calling us Jevy, where Eris tells us that she made herself invisible to the world with her original name. The 2 men there are Frankie and Rechtman, who are cyber activists. Eris scoffs at the idea because she just thinks of them as rich kids playing around. She gets her equipment, which is a pistol and her computer, where she spots a newspaper. The headlines were depressing. Charles Morn, the president of the free world, and owner of the powerful pharmaceutical corporation called Freya. This man was my father, an abusive father. The success of Freya Corporation was part of his political campaign, and it will be my tool. The bonds of the corporation. Wait, did I just call him abusive? Then we see a depressing cutscene where we see Eris thrown on the ground under her own father's boot, in which he then pulls a gun on who we can assume is Eris's mother. This cutscene, mixed with music that sounds straight out of Yume Nikki, just gives me the perfect feeling of dread that they're working to show.
And really cool detail, if you pause, you can actually read the newspaper and see the president is doing the infamous Reagan.
Wait, what do you mean it wasn't Reagan?
Okay, if you pause, you can actually read the newspaper and see that the president is doing the infamous Nixon gesture with the peace signs. She finishes her business and leaves to go to the Hexy Bar up the street. The Hexy Bar is a shady spot with a weird electric chair-looking thing and a few android-looking people. Heading to the bar top, we can meet Hex. Eris mentions how Hex sells things under the table for information and money. She gives us a job where we need to use a device checker and microdrone to do some recon in the bank nearby. So we go into the bank, hack their security, and grab the chips to sell back to Hex. I'd also like to bring attention to the inventory screen where under Eris's name it says Revenge Driven. I'll touch more on that later. Same goes for the UI system like inventory, but leaving the bank, we can see 3 people hanging outside of it. Giving Hex the info, we can see one of the people from earlier near the bank coming in and then leaving. Grabbing some ammo for our gun, we head outside and see them preparing for something big. Eris says that they are college students who study nearby and are going to hit the bank for its money, and they will be crucial to her plan. They'll be important, so we have to go over them. There's Sairi, who's the intelligent and caring leader, America, who acts more like the leader and is very emotional, Ross, who's a dangerous sharpshooter, and Ralph, who's pretty much worthless. Don't worry, he won't be around for long. Using an ear device, we can hear them discussing their plan to head in and wait for them to blow a hole in the basement to the center. While we wait, Eris heads over to the dome to do some exposition dumping. There's 2 files to investigate, but at the moment, we can only really check one. It's just about how President Morn controls the Senate majority and how a man named Alfred Jarin is the president's best friend who does a lot of the business in Freya. Don't worry, they'll be important later. After this, we can head back to the bank and slip in to disable sensors and grab keys to get into the vault, and then steal the bonds. When leaving, we see Ralph catch us, and we just shoot him, and he's gone in one well-placed shot. So this is how you kill? From all the manga and stories I've read, I thought it would be different. I thought I'd feel something. The only thing I feel is a certain awkward disgust for the lack of proper emotion. I feel gross. Oh sick, a night vision device! First we gotta gain control of the situation though. Eris uses a voice mod to call the deputy and leak the escape route of the robbers. Going to the control room, we can use the camera system to watch the group and lead them to taking out cops and finding a new escape route. On their way, the deputy catches them and shoots Ross and America. Sairi takes America and they hobble to get away to their new escape route made by Eris. As Sairi is taking care of America, Eris thinks on the idea of affection and how it's somewhat of a foreign concept for her. Then we hear the explosion and need to get out quick. Equipping the night vision goggles, we can slip out. Barely noticed. I mean, don't worry, it was only like 2 45s they lodged in my arm, no sweat. Outside, the city was a cruel monster. A cold storm was the best greeting I could get. I always hated the sun. Chapter: The Bed of Stone. Heading to the bar, we meet one of the bartenders named Luna, who offers to listen to Eris' situation. Luna says that we seem like a good person, and Eris notes to herself that Luna has a terrible judge of character. We can try and head to our apartment, but Eris wants to go to the dock instead. We sit and wallow in our own self-pity when Sairi comes to meet us. The twist is he calls Eris by her real name. How the hell would he know that? Sairi reminisces by saying that it must have been 9 years ago that Sairi found her there. I was starving, wounded, and scared. A young boy went out of his way to help me when I needed it most. Every day, he came back to check on me and nurse my injuries, and it made me happy. A week later, he apologized. He felt guilty because he couldn't give me a new home. His parents were abusive, so it wasn't an option. One day he stopped coming, and I slowly became the piece of garbage I am today. Back to the present, Eris and Sairi talk, and Sairi says, "Would you rather sleep on a bed of stone?" Of course, that's a stupid question, but Sairi says, "If you always had to sleep on a bed of nails, a bed of stone would be comfortable." He ends the conversation with saying how it hasn't been a good day, and Eris realizes that she has been ruining his life. But it doesn't seem like she has too much sympathy for him. Eris heads back to her apartment and takes out her favorite soda. It tastes better than usual. Chapter 3. All Out. Waking up, Eris sees Frankie with a bat as she realizes she's restrained. After a one-sided violent exchange, Eris is beaten from the bat, and Frankie describes Eris as a monster, saying things like, "This isn't how a girl is supposed to act." He spills the beans that he's working for Alfred, and that his role is to manipulate activists. He says he's going to dismantle her menacing look piece by piece. But he needed to take a call first. Conveniently, she had watched many YouTube tutorials to get out of situations like this. But apparently, they were unnecessary because the guy was an idiot and didn't take her sharp bracelets away. Amateur. After leaving the confinements, you can go to get your bag of stuff and find Eris's captor. The man who stood so cockily faces us now, holding a shotgun of his own. 2 shots. Even with his superiority complex and ego, he was only human, and still pretty physically weak. Even though his body disappears in the scene, you get a cutscene where he's still alive on the ground, begging for his life. He begs by offering money, but Eris sees him only as a representation of her father. There is an option. You can either kill him, or not kill him. I didn't want to keep him around. After killing him, Eris laments on how it felt to kill him, differentiating it from last time. As I said earlier, we'll talk about alternate outcomes later. Anyway, taking his phone, you can find Jaren's contact in it, which is actually pretty useful. In walking outside, Eris describes the outside monster of the world was still there, just darker. Looking around, she realizes that this was likely a dud apartment Frankie owned, so she wouldn't be found. And the game tells us about its cartridge system. The cartridge system is based on Eris's actions and says how it will affect decisions and combat abilities later. Looking at our inventory, we see a memory slot with a skull that says, "I killed Frankie." After hobbling away to a corner in the rain, Eris recollects that she always had poor health, but this wasn't why she couldn't keep up. It was that she wasn't doing enough, and that she will strip Morn and Jaren of their power and influence, repaying their treatment to her 100 times over. This then starts. Chapter 4. Overcome. Eris wakes up to a feeling of a comfortable, soft bed. This isn't her bed. She opens her eyes to be in an unfamiliar room, having her alias called to her by Luna, the barmaid from earlier. Eris makes a sly comment about never playing soccer in the rain again, and Luna laments on how she found Eris knocked out in the rain on a corner. She then says how Eris is always welcome, and she had some gifts from Freya for her. I don't think I fully explained Freya earlier, but it's effectively one of the most powerful bionic corporations, as they make a bunch of the cool stuff you get to use. That is where Jaren is the chairman. The company is considered pretty corrupt, but other than that, its advancements in technology it provides, it's incredible. It's all we need to know for right now. After grabbing the Freya uniform, Eris takes it and works on her new plan to sneak in and break it from the inside. She walks while mentioning that it's 7 a.m. This is oversleeping for her. She mentions the fog of the city hiding the monster of last night. Stepping in front of her apartment, Eris has a gut feeling something is wrong. Something else is supposed to happen. Coincidentally, her apartment then explodes. Of course that idiot had a plan B. He must have known he would fail. Luckily, it's pretty fortunate since Eris would need to disappear soon. So it was kind he faked her death for her. She walks into the dome knowing it would be safe and noticed a body on the floor. The body of Rechtman. He must have been a good guy. Eris pities him, that good guys die. She checks the computer and gets into Senator Jaren's missing child, Emma. She plans to use Freya to find Jaren and take him out while probably having America and Sairi deal with Morn at his party. Going to Hex's, you can sell Jaren's secrets and get a micro-drone. You can also buy Luna's pistol. It does good damage and uses 357. The weapon is described as high aggro. There's 2 different types of weapons, high aggro and low aggro. You can just think of it as high aggro being for when you don't need to be sneaky and low aggro for when you do. Not that complicated, luckily. Problem is that there's a detective in the bar too that can talk to you. Detective Liz asks questions like, what happens in the bar? Of course, I didn't say anything. since I ain't no snitch. Leaving the bar and heading back to the now smoldering hole that used to be Eris's apartment, we can make a call to America and Sairi. She details about the bonds and how they should listen to her instructions. Then we cut to the next. Chapter 5. The Hate Machine. Now standing in front of the Freya office, detailing its concrete fortitude of mechanical protection and guards strewn about, Jaren's office was the 3rd floor, and she needed to get there. With how much illegal gear Eris was carrying, she needed to keep a low profile and disable systems that could detect her. She'll need to play it safe around guards and employees. You need to get in using a key card that you can swipe from an employee area using a micro-drone. After getting in, you can use the new NetFrame device you get to take out more hidden security systems. Going further, you can find a non-functioning elevator. Some employees mention a second private elevator that the manager who is currently in the bathroom has access to. Finding a closet, you can get a crowbar and some rope to get into that bathroom where you can find the manager, who is currently as high as a kite on the phone. He mentioned someone named Amy about getting some girl. Could be important later. Confronting him is useless. He just decides to fight, but that doesn't mean he'll win. He's fairly fragile and falls fast, but that's not enough for Eris. After beating him severely with the crowbar, she knocks him out for good. You may think this was unnecessary. Soon you will realize it was necessary. Yes, this mess over here. The pest on the floor. He was going to beg for his life and act like a nice guy, I bet. People like him always do. But I guess he can't now. Gross. Now I gotta wash my hands. After washing her hands, Eris exits the bathroom calmly, starting her trudge to the elevator. She stumbles halfway there, feeling pressure in her chest, even if it was shorter this time. Making her way up to the elevator recommends backing up the save, which it's there for a reason. Going up to floor 3 is nearly instant death and detection, so floor 2 it is. After deactivating the systems and nicking a keycard to deactivate the alarms, you get one of the best weapons in the game. You can steal a sniper rifle. You can use that rifle to take out 2 guards and go up to the 3rd floor. Heading to Jaren's office, there are 2 guards blocking the way that you can take out pretty easily. Walking in, you can see Jaren and a woman named Alyssa. Eris demands them to stand in the corner and get the computer. She holds Jaren at gunpoint, demanding that he knows about a girl named Emma's disappearance. He says that she was his daughter, and Eris quickly cuts him off, calling him a prick. He then details how she went missing 12 years ago and they were still searching for her. Eris sees through his lies and tells him to stop speaking and to give her the computer. Alyssa steps in with a framed picture saying, Eris has no right to speak about the light of their lives. She talks about how they have always had hope and how Charles Morn's daughter disappeared the same way and how this helped them connect. The disappearance of Morn's wife also led them to becoming sorrowful, and she says that Eris has no idea what they've gone through, how Morn had lost his daughter named Eris. Eris cuts her off, giving her the full name she was about to say. Eris calls her Mrs. Fields and says that she would like to address Alyssa with respect. Eris says that Jaren has no right to be in her life, just like Morn has no right to be in hers. I am Fern, from my mother, Genevieve Fern. My mother was killed by Charles Morn 12 years ago. He raised me with the language of violence until that day. That day I escaped to the streets, where I only endured more violence, hunger, fear. I've been hurt in all the ways a living being can be. And Emma, if that's still her name, if she is alive, if she passed through the same trials, only one person knows. Alyssa questions about Emma, and Eris refers to her Jaren, telling him she will only ask once. Eris asks Jaren if she uses men like Frankie to kidnap girls, or else she will beat him to a pulp with the butt of her pistol. He feigns ignorance, in which Eris becomes enraged and screams, "Tell her the truth! You're not going to need this!" Alyssa stands in horror as she sees Eris rip his arm off and tear him to pieces. She begs Eris to stop and just gives her the laptop. Eris sits down calmly with the laptop and pulls up images of the family who her daughter was sold to. She then starts to apologize to Alicia about making her day worse when she pauses. Why am I apologizing? Why am I excusing myself? Emma, I don't remember. I watched these files before. Why do I feel nervous now? Never mind. Stupidity. Eris receives flashbacks of another little girl asking how she was, and that she was waiting for her. She remembered how Emma said that her dad could protect her from the bad things her evil dad was doing, only to have her being proven wrong. She remarks how brave and kind she was, but not enough to save herself. Now we see a flashback of Eris's father, berating her after her mother and only friend are gone. He rubs it in the most sadistic and condescending words he can muster. He lifts Eris in her darkest moments. "Do you want to cry now? I'll help you." After seeing flashes of a beaten, broken Eris, she has to recompose herself as she remembers where she was. She sees Alyssa, mortified at the screen she sees. She questions Jaren as he continues to try lying through his teeth. Alyssa gets sick of it and tells Eris not to pull the trigger because she needs to be the one to do it. To avenge her daughter, to end his decade-long lie, she needs to be the one holding the executioner's axe. And who is Eris to say no to a desperate mother? One shot is all it took. Eris says that she feels bad that murder will be pinned on Alyssa, of which whom assures her that she has enough money and influence to bribe investigators, like she's seen her husband do for the past decade. Alyssa then gets a call which she needs to take. After that, Eris tells her who she was involved in Emma's sale. Charles Morn, his new wife, and her manager, who happened to be a drug dealer. Yes, the same manager we beat with a crowbar earlier. Alyssa warns us that there will now likely be a special agent from Morn's task force on their way to get Eris. We can see a brief frame of an unknown woman with a sniper rifle. But don't worry, we'll get to know her later. Alyssa warns us that for now we should use the elevator to get to the roof, which has a stairway that leads to the secret R&D basement area. Going up to the elevator, we end up in a hallway, which has the windows getting shot out by a Liz Barrett, the woman we briefly saw a moment ago. After running past her shots, we can make it to the access way to the roof, where Eris stops. She realizes that she now has a reason to live, a goal other than defeating her father. Her life isn't worthless now. Now she has a purpose. Now she has a mission. Going onto the roof, you need to take out a guard posted near the next door. You need to open it. It's time locked. Oh no. You need to quickly run from the sniper copter's sightline and survive for just 30 seconds. When you do, you get to a cutscene where you run into the elevator to the next section, but Eris did take a bit of a hit. We see other perspectives of people's situations now. We see Alyssa dealing with her internal demons of her husband. We see Syrie and America talking, and now we see Liz, our assassin, claiming she's killed us. She had to. Clean shot. But we're not. Eris wakes up and realizes the assassin is tailing her. She needs to escape, and quick. Eris goes to the R&D project with a giant crystal and series of consoles to her whim. She activates its voice code and repeats her mother's name. As the armed assailants and guards close in on her, she repeats her mother's last message. Eris, live! Through Eris's rage and devotion over the years, she has been able to find the one thing Morn couldn't cover, her mother's legacy. Eris climbs into a mech suit with the codename Galak-00. Eris goes on a rampage, destroying and killing everything in sight, atomizing those who oppose or stand in her way. As she triumphs from the underground tunnel, we see Liz trail her and marvel at the mechanical sight, with Gustav, the detective from earlier, hovering behind her, believing she's a traitor and co-conspirator. Eris wakes up to a hospital drones in Hex's shop, getting fixed up from her headshot. Luna was worried sick for her, but Eris still had her mission. She donned new Freya clothes and made her way to a basement hole she had dug long ago with a camera. We cut to Morn 4 hours later at a rally he's hosting when, suddenly, Eris bursts onto the mega screens behind him. She uses a disguise and says she's not here to talk about his wife or daughter, but rather why he's not afraid about losing a Senate majority. Because of Terminal 00 Green. She details the netframe and Jaren's death and even the helicopter, giving a nudge for Gustav's investigation. Eris then shows another screen on the Senate where Morn's wife is presenting, in which a giant mech blows through a wall and starts this massacre. America and Syrie are speechless. Morin is trying to save his PR, and others yell what the humanity is as Eris delivers her final statement that she wouldn't do this, but Charles would. We cut to Morin and his wife and daughter, thankful that they're alive. Then to a conversation between Alyssa and Eris, where she says she made all signs point to Morin, but calls Eris cold-blooded and cruel for her actions. Eris then reminds her that those mechs Morin developed weren't meant for kissing and cuddling. What did she think Morin was going to use them for? Eris promises she will find Emma, but that she will tear Morin apart, piece by piece in the process, like he tried to do to her. To President Morin, I will destroy you. But destruction does not equal murder. Revenge is never a straight line. It's like a forest. And like a forest, it's easy to lose your way. To get lost, to forget where you came in. Things don't go as you expect. People change. People in situations you don't expect. And you change. But there are nothing but trees in front of you. Obstacles. I don't care who I have to use. I don't care who I have to discard. Because in revenge, there is only one thing that never changes. The goal. Chapter 7. Obey. All of you. This chapter starts with Eris heading to a decrepit house of a scientist who used to make drugs for the military named Brandon Ishii. He manufactured the drugs that aided in killing her mother, so she would only return the favor. She pretends to be helpless in front of his house, and she gets in. She makes small talk, and he opens up about his wife who brainwashed his daughter into rebelling. After he leaves to get something, you can head upstairs and find an unsent letter from Ishii's wife, pleading to Jaren for help how she sent America somewhere after she was hit with golf clubs. You can find a golf club and wait outside the basement door. You can hear Ishii as he chants to the deity he worships and how he will use the flesh. She beats him with a club and says what he can do to spare his life is nothing. She introduces her true self and finishes him with the 9-iron he used against his wife. Wait, that's not an innuendo, right? Whatever, let's keep it in. Eris thinks to herself, did she do this because it was right or for her own amusement? I picked that she did it for fun. I just think based on the story that that's the correct option. She doesn't think it's fun though. She thinks it's all messed up, every part of it. After this, you can end up in Luna's house and go to the streets. There's a pink-haired girl, but you don't need to talk to her. But in doing so, she compliments your hair. You can respond by saying nothing or thank you. If you say thank you, you get the memory of talking to a nice stranger. You can go back and grab Luna to bring her along with you to a party. After talking to some douche on the street, you can distract Luna and grab her car keys so she can take you to the next location. While driving to the bar, you can have the choice to be honest with Luna, in which you tell her that you're the terrorist from the news and reveal your true identity. Luna still chooses to support you and says she would never abandon her friend. Arriving at the bar, you can get a new memory of trusting a friend. Going into the bar, you then get yelled at by Gustav and taken into questioning. In the meantime, you get to command some new drones that Hex is allowing you to playtest. One is geared towards stealth, and the other is for loud. We see Liz Barrett at the equivalent of the White House, and we cut back to the drones. First, you use the stealth drone that you can have sneak through the facility to disable a bunch of security systems. I assume it's the systems of the president's building. After this, you go all out as the high aggro murder bot. Going through the path of destruction, you can see Morn on a call, and then a series of shots showing Gustav getting a call from the president that Liz is the terrorist. Then we see Liz in a hallway hiding from the robot, and then we can see Eris get taken by Alyssa back to Freya from Gustav. Eris meets up with America and Sairi again, and you can choose to be negative or nice to them. You can also run into Luna, and she'll tell you that you need to accept yourself, even with all your scars and trauma. Maybe. You can then get a new outfit from Luna that seems to be made of higher grade stuff. The outfit looks like that of a military officer in white. Next we see Eris leave the building and greet Liz, who is on the ground in an alley. Eris reveals the hidden bot that kept track of her movements, reassuring her that Eris won't kill her. Barrett threatens that she'll die on the spot if she doesn't get an explanation, of which Eris tells Barrett her real name, and Liz immediately agrees to join in. Eris leaves her at the bar for now to have her all fixed up, and then we see the cartridge. Tactician. Chapter 8. Delete the world. Is Eureka ready for activation?
Not yet, but she's capable of combat, but still have problems with feedback.
Okay, continue. We need this ready soon, for everyone's safety.
This next choice is locked. Based on your previous actions, you can either hijack Freya's authority or go after Morn's armory. Based on my previous actions, we can't go straight to the armory, but we can hijack Freya's authority. You're in Hex's bar and can get enough money to buy a bot, but only one. For me, I bought the high aggro bot, since I figured she'd be a bit more useful in case there were a boss. We need to head to Alyssa's old house where there's a raid and Cyree is inside. On our way, we pass by the dock. Why am I in such a hurry? He's probably dead by now anyway. And now that I think about it, anytime I get involved... Damn it, all I do is make people suffer. I'm a parasite. I survived and I turned my life into this, the life my mother gave me. Bed of stone, my ass, Cyree. No one deserves to be treated poorly, even if that's the lesser of two evils. What's that over there? Did I do something wrong? Yes. I didn't know Cyree was the one who helped me. It was still wrong to do. I'm a liar. I thought I was far beyond the point of no return. I thought I felt nothing, but because those feelings were disgusting, horrible. Keep walking. My mother was not like this, like me. I'm disgusting. I'm violent. I thought I was above this, above feeling for others, but I also feel. I used to hide a lot. I used to hide in the kitchen after every incident, holding a knife and dealing with myself. Is this ever going to end? Is this my fault? Day after day, the punishments were brutal. The taste of blood in my mouth became natural. Eventually, I stopped noticing it altogether. The old wounds inside my mouth didn't have time to heal. The new ones always took their place. I had problems eating. I had problems walking. Why am I thinking this? This is horrible. Why is this in my memory? I thought I was cold, heartless, emotionless, but I regret killing people. I didn't grow up to be like my mother. In the end, I'm like... Someone help me, anyone! I would go outside and scream. Inside, I still feel myself calling for help, but nobody's here. But I must live! Answering this, you can gain a memory for being a survivor. Next, you can go to the house and take out all the agents to receive Cyree. After bringing him out, Eris talks to him about Emma, and when they would be at her house. Apparently, they both were friends of Emma. Eris mentions how she would hide by the tree to hide her bruises. Cyree is having a weirdly romantic moment with her, so Eris chooses to break the news that she's the operator. In telling the truth, we cut to America, being furious over this news. America and Cyree get furious and blame her for nearly killing them, in which Eris reminds them that she knew their plan would fail and that she was the reason they were able to survive at all. Then they ask about their two other friends. You can either lie or tell them the truth. In telling the truth, Eris says that she killed Ralph, and Ross was captured. The two are furious that Eris says this so calmly, and why she betrayed them, and why she hides so much. Eris calls them hypocrites, and lays out all that she knows of America and Cyree. That America was just a stalker of Cyree who led to sympathize with him while hiding her heritage, and that Cyree knew who Eris was but only cared about Emma. Eris even ends her speech with, "Don't feel bad. I'm not better than you. Just don't pretend you're better than me." Now we can fast forward to Alyssa calling Eris, telling her that something fishy is happening at Hex's and to check it out. Turns out it's overrun by agents. Getting through a maze of agents, bots, and turrets, you can find hunched over Liz. She tells you she's fine and that Hex is checking for an exit and asks why you do all these things.
I responded that it's for the sake of Emma and her mother's death to take out Charles Morn. Liz is impressed, and when Hex barges in, Liz throws a knife at her heart. Eris is baffled, and Liz realizes that Eris really doesn't know who she is. It's Emma. But before we get all sentimental and happy, we need to get out of here. You take control of Emma and need to use her abilities and weapons to fend off hordes of bots and agents to allow Eris time to hack the systems. After escaping, you can walk with Emma, and she'll say this. This whole revenge thing? You don't need it. You have things to live for, reasons. I want to be one of them. Very forward, Emma, but this is no time for that. Chapter 9. A Monster from the Past. It opens with a mysterious cybernetic human. You activated me. Why would you do that? Scientists yell to cut her off because she's not ready. Treat me like a monster, and I'll act like one. We cut back to Eris watching Emma and her mother in a sweet embrace after so many years apart. This reminds Eris of her mother, so she leaves. But when she gets downstairs, her perception is changing. All black and white, nothing is clear to her anymore. She collapses. Waking up, she sees Alyssa brought a doctor for a head injury. She eventually gets out and goes to the others to talk about the new presents she needs them to get acquainted with. As Eris is showing off the new mech, she gets a call to go downstairs as someone is requesting her. Ross. He's back. Eris investigates and probes with questions, leading to her making a final verdict. I chose that he seemed too suspicious, but that leads to us bringing him on the mission anyway. We cut to Morn talking to his daughter as she's trying to cheer him up with chocolate. Kids can say the simplest yet wisest things sometimes. I need to stop Eris, and he assures his daughter he won't let anyone hurt her. We see another scene of the cyborg girl from earlier, surrounded by tanks and soldiers and robots. Then in a blink of an eye, all the unit's signals are lost. Going back to Eris, her, America, Syri, Ross, and Emma are heading for their next target. Eris informs them to get ready to suit in the mechs because they'll need to cause some chaos. After going crazy through the area as Emma and Eris, you get ready to head to the next point until... I smell a rat. Ross has betrayed us on the mission and is holding America hostage. Luckily, Eris isn't so trusting. Good luck coming back from that one! Ha! Eris had rigged an explosive device in his mech because we chose to be suspicious when he came in. Now we have to Wait, why is everything already destroyed? Things go kaboom. After waking up from getting nearly obliterated, we see that thing that blew us up a few meters away. Walking up to her, Syri yells to get away because she's dangerous. But Eris says that she isn't afraid of the thing that spared her life. Eureka is its name and says that her owner said if she destroyed the mechs, then she would get to see the sun for the first time. Eureka asks if we'd like to sit and watch the sun with her. I said yes. Isn't this a bit bizarre? Enjoying the weather in the middle of a battle? Be nice. It's the first time I get to enjoy this. About what you said earlier, I don't think that person considers you equal. Nobody has the right to take the sunlight away from you. What do you mean? I don't have to earn this blessing? No. Being free is a human right. You are human, aren't you? They call me a hybrid helper robot because I was created with a human base. You have the choice to tell Eureka the truth. In deciding to tell her, exposing her secret she never knew, Eris gives her a private journal as Eureka says she won't be able to spare them the next time because of her deal with the owner. After heading into the big office-like building and gunning it through the halls, we get to meet her again. She warns us that we shouldn't be here or to incur her wrath. But Eris has business that's a bit more important. Sorry, Eureka. You were very nice to us earlier. After an honestly really easy boss fight, We can get past Eureka finding that she was drugged to go crazy with something called trianite, a drug that was supposed to be discontinued ages ago. But now we have a choice, a cartridge lock choice. We can either kill Eureka, let her live, or take some time to decide. Looking at the choices, it's obvious. Eris holds up her gun to Eureka's head, but she can't fire. Eureka is in the same situation as Eris, but she's only waking up from her tragedy. From beyond the barrel, Eureka says she wants to make them pay. Those who stripped away her humanity and made her into a weapon, a tool. She was lied to and cheated, not just from her childhood, but her life that she doesn't see worthy of keeping. No! Don't throw your life away like that. I will fulfill your revenge. I don't want you to live how I lived. I said no one owns you. Your tragedy doesn't define who you are. You survived, now live. Get out of here. Escape. I don't care where. Go! The old me would have just used her anger to manipulate her into joining me. No. Not saying I'm a changed person. Just yet, but I didn't realize how much I needed someone to tell me these words 12 years ago. Sounds a lot like Mom. Walking down the hallway past her, you can get... God damn it, why is everybody here? So Gustav attacks you, but luckily, Eureka got your back. You have the ability to talk to Eureka after she saves you, but it says before you start, you should think carefully before talking. Proceed. Eureka vents about how she feels like her life has been a waste, and how she wants revenge. Eris has the choice between saying, we both want the same thing, or, there's more to life than that. Choosing the latter, Eris tells her there will always be a tomorrow, and she should take back the life they stole from her by not letting them win and living her life to the fullest. She still believes she has no reason to live, and no one to trust, in which you can say, you can start again. Then find a reason, or we can help you. In choosing we can help you, she says that she's sick of hearing that, since the last person who drugged her said the exact same thing. She's upset, but at least now she's free. Kind of. Well, we have to get back to the mission. We have to prevail. We have to move forward. Going through the door, we see a cutscene of Morn, Amy, and his daughter, Eris, with an E. Surrounded by guards. Eris asks if she can play video games with Dad and Mom when they're done with work. Later, her mother says. Morn tells her to head for his office to be safe. Morn sends her off by telling her to be safe, Angel. A guard yells that the computers are infected and are not responding. I'm just steps away from him. For the lives already lost, I can't walk away from this. I'm sorry. Once this is over, I'll pay for my crimes. I don't want an easy way out of this. I regret coming this far. I was wrong. Chapter 10A. Winds of Change. It's been a while, Morn. Eris stands just feet away from Morn. He says he's ready to pay for his crimes. He knows he's wrong, but Eris's revenge has taken too many lives already. Eris believes that if he's so sincere in his words, he should be in prison. Or better yet, dead. He claims he has a wife and daughter that he loves and that they don't deserve this punishment. You have a family now? Must be tough considering you got rid of your last one. Amy tries to chime in saying how Morn has been a great husband. Morn says he's changed now and he doesn't know why he did those things. Eris tells him that she believes him. And she knows why he did it. Amy had drugged him with trianate. Amy and Morn stare in disbelief. But Eris assures them that it isn't unsupported evidence. Like Chris Hansen, she pulls out the receipts from a tape recorder. I remembered Charles wanted to cancel the project that kept me and others captive on moral grounds. But some people still worked on it. I was produced as a helper unit with Freya's technology. They failed to modify my brain to accept commands from a computer. I didn't kill anyone like Gustav was saying, but the person who drugged me was Amy. She wanted to kill you and any other attackers. And after that, I would have to kill Charles Morn, her husband. My real name? I don't know. I'm just Eureka now. Morn is in disbelief of the project name, and Eris, just as a safeguard, eliminates all of Morn's remaining confidence and guards. Emma reveals herself after taking them all out and leaves for America to take her place and explain the story of trianate and how her father helped develop it. But Morn wanted to cover the tracks and hide America away. Eris then pulls a gun on America's head and asks what interest he has in her to protect her so much. You have another cartridge-based decision. I chose not to kill her. In doing so, Eris orders her and Sairi to leave the room so she can talk to Morn privately. As they leave, she immediately shoots him in the knee. She expresses how she never wanted to kill him, but to make him suffer. Him and Amy, who is the soulless viper who stole her mother's work to use it for mass destruction. Amy runs away and Morn helplessly tries to plead for her to return. Eris just keeps kicking him while he's down by saying how she never loved him and was just after his money. Morn calls her a monster for wanting to hurt his family, in which she proceeds to shoot him even more in the knees. A monster? I simply bought what you were selling. How does it feel, Morn? How does it feel to be the victim? To see your dreams die? Now it's your turn for every year of misery you made me live. Die! A cry from another voice bursts into the room. Eris, with an E, screams not to hurt her dad and interrogates, asking who she is to do this. Morn uses this time to introduce Eris as Eris's stepsister. Don't worry, this won't be confusing for long. We have a cartridge-based decision. To kill Eris, or not to kill her. We yelled to get her out of the way, but she just wouldn't move. But I don't think it's right to kill her. She's the byproduct of unfortunate circumstances. She doesn't understand. She's not aware. Oh, you bastard! Now you deserve to die. We play as Emma walking into the room and find Eris on the floor mumbling about a missile that is coming in that Emma and the others need to leave, and quickly. We run into the next room, in which we get this cutscene. Amy and Morn are arguing about why he shot Eris, their daughter, calling him a pig. He screams as he cries, wondering the same. Why did he shoot his own daughter? Twice! He hates himself. But Amy isn't in the same mood. She asks if he's nostalgic, saying how she drugged him now. Just like the last time. She's happy and beats the rest of life that Morn had left out of him, knowing she gets his sole fortune now. So, that's how you ended Morn. I better be alert. Emma heads up to the roof and fights her way to the helicopter, only to see Amy had stolen it and was trying to escape. Emma readies her sniper and takes her shot, making the helicopter leak flames into the evening sky, burning a hole to the sun. But there's still the missile. Eureka appears and asks where Eris is. Emma quickly explains how she's unconscious and explains the missile, but no biggie. Eureka just needs Eris's net frame and she can deal with the missile easily. She was literally made to take out hundreds of tanks at once. A missile's really no real issue. After Emma runs down and grabs the net frame, she hands it off to Eureka to take it from there. We see through Eureka's eyes as she targets the missile. Because of its movement patterns, you need to quickly follow it with your reticle, which you can look on, and then... Forgive me if I don't tell you everything right away. Or I lie to you. Ah, I almost forgot. Sorry for lying. Did I lie a lot? Only you know that. Eris, I appreciate you telling me the whole story, though. I hope things change for you. You can show me I wasn't wrong with you. I'm sure. With this, we roll credits. Luna has become the owner of Hex's Bar. Alyssa took control of Freya and became the president. America and Sairi are now living in a foreign country with new identities. Emma is now a commanding officer in Alicia's private security force. And Eris is now in a mental health facility. She's still targeted by the biokernel and may be used by the government in the future. I want to live. But that isn't the end of the video. I also am very sorry. This game is incredibly long. I don't know how, but there is no other videos on this game. Well, none showing the other endings. So unfortunately, I don't have footage of the other endings or possible walkthroughs. But based off of what information there is of other forums in the wiki, I can explain them a bit. Dead Ending 1 is called The Problem Was There. where during some confrontation, Liz gets Eris to say her real name, in which Amek kills Emma and then Eris kills herself. Dead ending 2. Nothing good to feel. This is when Eris is at the pier and she chooses to just shoot herself during her epiphany. Neutral ending. Lacking the will to survive. This ending leads Eris to getting wounded in Morn's fight and almost everyone dying, as well as the biokernel taking over the world. That's the thing that shot the missile, by the way. Bad ending. Everybody pays the price. This one, everybody dies. Like, literally everybody just dies. And then lastly, the true ending, which is what I got. I'm gonna be honest. Before I learned about the other endings, I only thought there were like 3. Even before I learned it was the true ending, I thought what I got was the true ending. But it made a lot of sense to me. Also, I don't want to go through the game again just to see Eris suffer more. But now I want to look at the game. Just like the last Dark RPG I played and reviewed, go watch the Crooked Man video, it's actually pretty okay. I want to dive deep into the messages, symbolism, and whatever else I can analyze to elongate the runtime. I'm kidding, I don't get paid for this, I just like talking. This game touches on a lot of heavy topics though, so it's hard to just pick one. So let's look at the characters separately. First, I'd actually like to look at Luna and save Eris once we consider most of the other characters. Luna's just the barmaid for Hex, and is a pretty minor character, but talking to her is so vital to determine what ending you get. I think Luna emulates the idea of therapy or some kind of outside help. Luna is a very kind person. She sees Eris struggle and constantly tries to offer help. Accepting or denying this help affects Eris severely and what ending you get. I love how Luna is always so willing to trust Eris, which ends up being her downfall, dependent on your own actions. And bouncing off of Luna's character, I'd actually like to mention one character we see for a brief moment. I mentioned it earlier, but there's a random NPC you can talk to who just compliments Eris on her hair. That's it. But this moment is a significant moment for Eris, where she keeps it effectively as a core memory. This moment to me signifies the idea of Eris coming out of her shell. She's very protective of who she talks to and how she lies to them. But this random woman isn't trying to probe her for information or trying to deceive her, just to compliment her hair. Now I'd like to look at Sayuri, Emma, and America at the same time. I kind of want to loop these people together as they all share the same narrative, kind of. Lying to understand. Let me explain. America lies to get close to Sayuri, hiding her identity and lineage to get close to him. She plays dumb to try and gain happiness to be with him. She doesn't care about all this conspiracy crap. She wants to move on. Emma was arguably one of the most mysterious characters, as we have no idea about her motives and stuff. Like, we know about Emma was kidnapped and sold, but we don't really know how much she really suffered, if at all. She just became a personal army assassin for the company that her dad worked for. She knows her mom and dad, and also Alyssa would probably know their best assassin on their personal armed forces. I don't know, her story really confuses me. Maybe Jiren didn't know it was his daughter, and she was forging her name to climb the ranks and eventually kill him? Who knows? Sayuri is in the same boat as Emma. We know very little about his backstory and motivations. My guess is just some guy trying to stick it to the system. He lies to try and fight the system, but honestly, he's not all that connected with him and Emma. The 3 overall fall under the same group. That's all it really needs to be for now. Now we can look at Morn and Amy. I don't consider Eris with an E because she doesn't have much character. Morn, in my eyes, is kind of an innocent man. Now, before you hate me, hear me out. Morn is an innocent bystander like Sayuri in America. Okay, not innocent, but he's not doing what he's doing because he's not the mastermind. Amy drugged him with a drug that he tried to get shut down, and he also tried to shut down the Eureka program. I see that he does have morals, but he's also a pushover. He has little backbone and seems to just be a puppet. A backbone like a chocolate eclair. Reminds me of that one terrorist guy from Iron Man. I don't know why. Amy, on the other hand, is one of the worst characters in fiction. She drugged her friend to make him kill his wife and abuse his daughter. She manipulated him to marry her so she could kill him and get his fortune. And she gave the go-ahead for a bunch of the operations that are the reason for the things in the game. I hope that the helicopter exploded, but didn't kill her. She shouldn't get the piece of death after this. Finally, Eris. I think Eris is... I gotta think on this. If we look at her actions and circumstances alone, I'd say she's definitely in the wrong. But considering things like Freya and Morn pretty much literally being Lockheed Martin and the government, her actions seem a bit more understandable, but Morn's actions shaped Eris. Her environment and emotions show the turmoil she's gone through. In the beginning, she describes the world itself as a monster, but by the end, she's sitting with a girl in a similar situation to her, just watching the sun. Eris is a tragic character, built in a tragic environment. She only sees the world in the lens of her torture. She can't see the light in anything because she's been blinded by the rage in her heart. She reminds me of this one clip that I think was advertised for some Call of Duty game, where two soldiers are about to charge at each other, but then they see the sun, and it's just a field of destruction with two men in the center, who, in another life, could have been friends, standing with bayonets at each other's throats. I use that analogy because that's Eris's relationship with Morn. Both have been blinded. In a perfect world where Amy never did the things she did, Eris, her mother, Alyssa, Emma, and Morn could all be happy people in happy families. But Amy drugged Morn to kill his wife and beat his daughter, whom confided in Emma and then had Jaren remove her. Alyssa was distraught the rest of her life, and Morn remarried and starts a new family. This family shows what Eris and Morn could have had. But Amy destroyed it, tore it from both of their arms. Twice. This relationship honestly makes me love both of them. Even with the horrible things Morn and Eris did, both were under the influence. We see what Morn could be, how loving of a father he can be. We can see how empathetic and emotional Eris can be. We can see what they could have been, but it was ripped away from both of them. And they blame each other only until they realize they'd both been drugged. Eris is drugged on rage and revenge, while Morn was literally and figuratively drugged by Amy's coercion. Just a horrible woman overall. All these circumstances lead to Eris being such a troubled individual, and that's why the true ending ends the way it does. The true ending is her rediscovering her humanity and using the resources that tried to help her and help fix herself. Eris isn't necessarily broken or anything, but she's troubled. She lacks trust, but she wants to. I just love the development of these characters. The world building isn't half bad either. This world is dystopian. Crazy drugs, micro-drones, built-in net frames, mech suits, and cyber-humans. Pretty damn cool. Freya reminds me of that one company in Cyberpunk 2077 that practically owns everything. I don't know the name since I haven't played it, I only watched the anime, but I'll flash it on screen if I find it here. But Freya controls so much of this world, at least of what we get to see. I think the environments are a bit bland, but they do get better closer to the end in my opinion. So I guess now it's time to talk about mechanics and actual game components. First, I need to talk about the music. It's only a few tracks, but damn are they nice. They seem to fit the dystopian future very well. The timing is good, the mood is good, I like it. The game mechanics, on the other hand, took a while to get. So as you know if you've watched the Crooked Man video, which you should after this, I do not like RPG Maker's ability to handle guns. I think there are other engines and methods that handle it much better. But this game kind of fixed my problem with it, honestly. So in this game, you can just fire at people with your gun, which I do not recommend whatsoever. I do recommend using the time stop mechanic, though even if it's only with the sniper rifle. When you use your gun, you can stop time and go into the net frame mode, basically. In this mode, you can just choose a target and shoot, and oh my god, does this make things so much more convenient. It's basically just worse VATS from Fallout, but it's so necessary. Continuing on the net frame, it's a really nice tool. If you've ever played Payday 2, it works pretty much the same as Sixth Sense. You press a key and you can see all the hidden devices and tech and remotely disable it through the biokernel. I think. The technology aspect I'm not so confident about, with how all over the place this world is. Still, I like it all the same. The microdrone is pretty necessary when it comes to objectives, and I wish they were a bit more clear when collecting stuff did. I think you can sell it, but not always, and also you don't always collect stuff. It's just odd. I think the way the inventory system works as well, even if it's just the base RPG Maker inventory with minor enhancements. There's a party system that's used pretty much like 2 or 3 times throughout the entire game. I mean, it works, but I'm 90% sure it's just the base systems that RPG Maker gives. Actually, I don't know. I do want to use the system to make a game someday. Maybe that'll be its own video, so I can more accurately give feedback on these types of games. But otherwise, I like the systems it uses. I don't think any of them were too cumbersome or annoying to use. Lastly, I want to talk more about the game itself, just random general things to finish it with. It's a great game and I recommend playing it to properly experience the other endings. I think the animation and art style are also great. Some people might not like it, but I'm a sucker for style. I'm not a huge fan of like ultra realistic games. I have no issues with them, but when that's it, then I get disappointed. Stylization to me is more important than how many megapixels make up the character's ass cheeks. The story progression felt good. I like how everything is set up at the beginning, where Eris says she will lie and may not always tell the truth. And we see exactly that. Elements of the story that would normally require a lot of information is there because she's been preparing for revenge for so long. We can see different stages of her emotions through the plan, from the dome to her underground bunker thing. She's embarrassed of the name, but it's just because she's been doing it for so long. I don't know, I like it. So to finish it off, this game is great. If you enjoy RPG Maker games and story-driven RPGs, you'll like this. I got it on sale for like 60 cents, I think, so it's not like it's that expensive to begin with. Also, I'm aware there's a sequel, but I don't like how it looks, so I probably won't play it. It also looks unrelated, and it's made by a different team, so yeah. Probably won't be a part 2 to this story in my eyes. But thank you all so much for watching. I really enjoyed this game. Here's the commenter who recommended it. Thank you for showing me this incredible hidden gem. There's not many videos on this game, so I'd be glad to say I'm one of the first who goes on a big semi-in-depth analysis. Anyway, as I'm writing this, we're at about 408 subs, 422 as of recording this audio. And for those of you who are new, check out some of the other videos, especially the Crooked Man if you really like this one. And check out the Mischief video. I worked really hard on that one, and I'm disappointed that it's still lower than the stupid Fun Times at Homer's video. Why is that nearly at 10K? Okay, anyway. As always, comments, criticism, and suggestions are always welcome below, and I'll see you guys later. Arrivederci.